Mindset Tales presents the rise and fall of La Clique. Futuristic detectives investigate an alien crime syndicate, a sci-fi thriller story. Neon rain fell in steady sheets over the city of Jord, turning every street into a mirror of fractured color. It wasn't real rain, at least not entirely. Suspended within the droplets were microscopic luminescent particles discharged from the atmospheric scrubbers that ringed the upper skyline. Their purpose was to bind toxins and neutralize pollutants. Their effect was something else entirely. Every drop shimmered electric blue, magenta, or acid green as it struck pavement, glass, or steel. Rivers of color ran along gutters, pooling into glowing streams that reflected the towering city like a broken kaleidoscope. Towers of chrome and glass pierced the sky in jagged clusters, some so tall, their upper levels vanished into a permanent haze of artificial cloud cover. Holographic billboards stretched across entire facades, flickering between luxury advertisements and stern government propaganda. A perfume ad dissolved into a public service announcement: "Loyalty is security. Report suspicious activity." Seconds later it shifted again, this time to a smiling executive raising a crystal tumbler of amber liquor, promising wealth beyond imagination. Between the towers drifted surveillance drones, sleek black ovals with glowing sensor rings that pulsed like cold mechanical eyes. They hummed constantly, a low insectal buzz that had become part of the city's natural soundscape. People no longer flinched when the drones passed overhead. They didn't look up. They didn't speak about them. They simply adjusted their collars, lowered their gaze, and kept moving. Most citizens pretended not to see them. But two figures watched everything. They stood high above the district on the rooftop of an abandoned data processing tower, its surface slick with neon rain. From there, the luxury financial sector spread out beneath them like a glowing circuit board. Armored limousines glided silently along magnetized roadways far below. Their dark windows were polarized to absolute opacity. No one saw who sat inside, and no one was meant to. The rooftop wind howled between the skyscrapers, carrying a cold metallic tang. One of the watchers stood motionless at the edge. He wore a stark white Guy Fawkes mask, its stylized smile frozen in an expression of calm, mocking certainty, and a wide-brimmed hat. Rain slid across its smooth surface without leaving a mark. Beneath it, a long black trench coat rippled sharply in the wind, lined with faint threads of reactive fiber that pulsed dimly like distant lightning. He called himself Mr. Anonymous. No one knew his face. No one knew his past. Some doubted he even had one. Beside him stood his partner, still as a sculpture, but alert in every subtle movement. She wore a sleek obsidian coat tailored close to her form, its surface absorbing light so completely that the neon reflections seemed to vanish upon touching it. A delicate silver masquerade mask covered her eyes and upper face. Unlike his, it was intricate, etched with filigree circuitry that glowed faintly, tiny streams of data pulsing along its edges. Within the mask's lenses, layers of augmented vision scrolled silently. Heat signatures, facial recognition overlays, encrypted data streams, predictive movement trajectories. She was known only as Le Masque.
Target is leaving.
Her voice emerged through a vocal filter, smooth, controlled, with a faint harmonic echo that made it impossible to guess her natural tone. Mr. Anonymous tilted his head slightly. Below them, a convoy of 3 limousines separated from a cluster of financial towers and merged onto an elevated transit lane. Their anti-grav stabilizers hummed as they accelerated.
Minister Duval, bribery charges sealed, witnesses vanished, accounts wiped clean.
Le Masque's gaze didn't shift.
Not quite correct.
Le Masque raised her wrist. A thin beam of light projected outward, forming a floating hollow display between them. The images rotated slowly in the rain, 3 faces, each tagged with official records, biometric data, and time of death markers. One had been a corporate accountant, one a private security officer, one a junior prosecutor. All three had been key witnesses in Duval's corruption case. Each image was stamped with the same cold designation, deceased. Le Masque's voice lowered slightly.
They did not vanish.
A new layer of data appeared. Autopsy logs, surveillance timestamps, classified police reports.
Neutralized within 48 hours of sealed testimony. Causes listed as accident, overdose, and cardiac failure.
A pause. Then she added flatly.
They were assassinated.
For a moment, only the sound of neon rain filled the air. Mr. Anonymous stared at the floating images. The painted smile on his mask seemed to deepen in the shifting glow, transforming from mockery into something colder, something calculating.
That makes 7.
His gaze drifted back to the convoy below. Then Mr. Anonymous added quietly.
7 witnesses, across 4 different cases, all erased with surgical precision.
Le Masque closed the hollow display with a flick of her wrist. The images dissolved into streaks of light that vanished into the rain.
And every time, the same digital signature appears in the system logs, wiped within minutes.
Mr. Anonymous nodded slowly. He rested a gloved hand on the rooftop ledge.
Yes, like a ghost.
His head tilted slightly toward the city.
But ghosts, they always belong to someone, don't they?
The convoy below disappeared into a tunnel of shimmering light. For a long moment, neither detective spoke. The drones continued their endless patrol overhead. The city pulsed, watched, listened, waited. Over the past 6 months, they had investigated a string of crimes that, at first glance, had nothing to do with one another. They had begun as routine contracts, small anomalies buried inside a city overflowing with corruption. The kind of cases most private investigators either ignored or learned not to ask too many questions about. But Mr. Anonymous and Le Masque had built their reputation on one simple principle. If something didn't make sense, it usually meant someone powerful wanted it that way. The first case had involved a mid-level energy executive named Halvorsen. Officially, he had resigned due to personal health concerns after a sudden and catastrophic stock collapse within his company. Unofficially, Le Masque discovered something else. Encrypted payment streams routed through 12 shell corporations. Threat messages hidden inside innocuous calendar files. A final audio log recovered from his personal implant, recorded minutes before his resignation, containing a trembling voice.
They know about the offshore accounts. They know everything.
3 days later, Halvorsen disappeared. Authorities declared a voluntary relocation. His digital identity was scrubbed so thoroughly that even historical records began to overwrite themselves, as if he had never existed. That had been the first sign something was wrong. Not the corruption, not the blackmail, but the precision of the erasure. The second case had been a journalist, Mara Ionescu. She had spent years investigating financial irregularities among high-ranking government officials. Her work was considered dangerous, but not unusual, in a city built on political rot. Then she supposedly fell, 43 stories from her apartment balcony. Authorities ruled it a suicide within hours. But when Mr. Anonymous examined the building's security feeds, he found something strange. There was no footage of her entering her apartment that night. No record of anyone else entering either. Just a 6-minute gap in the surveillance timeline. 6 minutes that had been cleanly cut out, not corrupted, not glitched, but surgically removed. And after that gap, the cameras resumed recording as if nothing had happened. Le Masque traced the edit signature. It didn't match any known hacking groups. It didn't match government encryption either. It was something else, something quieter, more clandestine. Then came the judges, 2 of them in separate districts, exposed in bribery scandals within weeks of each other. Both publicly disgraced, both facing trial. Both died suddenly before they could testify. One from a rare allergic reaction. The other from a vehicle malfunction that caused his autonomous car to accelerate straight into a concrete barrier. When Le Masque accessed their autopsy reports, she found something chilling. Each body showed traces of a synthetic neurotoxin not registered in any pharmaceutical database. A compound designed not just to kill, but to leave almost no detectable residue. A toxin built to vanish. The pattern continued. A police chief who resigned after an anonymous leak revealed secret extortion payments, only for all investigative files to disappear from internal servers within hours. A corporate whistleblower who vanished from witness protection despite constant biometric monitoring. A city auditor who uncovered fraudulent infrastructure contracts and then abruptly recanted all statements on live broadcast, his eyes hollow, his speech oddly monotone, before dying of a sudden cerebral hemorrhage 2 days later. Every case was different. Different victims, different industries, different motives on the surface. But underneath, the same thing always happened. Someone stepped in afterward, quietly, efficiently, without leaving fingerprints. Records would be altered, surveillance feeds edited, financial trails redirected, witness statements rewritten or erased entirely. It was as if reality itself was being carefully rearranged, one event at a time, like an invisible hand smoothing wrinkles from a sheet. At first, Mr. Anonymous thought they were dealing with an elite corporate fixer network, then perhaps a government black operations unit. But the deeper they dug, the less those explanations made sense, because whoever was doing this didn't just clean up evidence. They controlled systems at every level: city data grids, financial exchanges, law enforcement databases, judicial archives, even personal memory backups stored in civilian neural implants. But surely no single organization should have had that kind of reach. Yet this one did, and it operated with absolute silence. The name surfaced slowly, never in official records, never in data logs, only in whispers, an anonymous tip buried inside a corrupted file, a frightened informant who spoke for exactly 7 seconds before terminating the call. A dying witness who grabbed Mr. Anonymous' coat and mouthed the word with his final breath. Spoken almost in reverent fear, the name was Clique. No one could say what it meant exactly. Some believed it referred to an exclusive inner circle. Others thought it was an old term for a hidden alliance. But everyone who mentioned it reacted the same way afterward, with fear. Not ordinary fear, not the fear of criminals or corrupt officials, but the kind of fear people have when speaking about something they believe cannot be fought. Mr. Anonymous had tried to trace the name through historical databases. He found fragments, references stretching back decades, sometimes tied to financial collapses, sometimes to political upheavals, sometimes to unexplained technological breakthroughs that appeared years ahead of their time. Each reference was vague. Each trail ended abruptly, as if someone had deliberately allowed just enough evidence to remain, like footprints left to warn others away. Le Masque summarized it one night while they reviewed 6 months of evidence projected across an entire wall of their safe house. Connections glowed between cases like a tangled web of light.
Every thread leads to the same conclusion.
She tapped the center node of the network. The label that had appeared again and again in whispers. Clique.
It's not just a syndicate, it's an infrastructure.
Mr. Anonymous watched the web of connections pulse.
Then it's not just crime, it's about control.
Le Masque nodded slowly.
They don't just eliminate threats, they shape outcomes.
Her partner leaned back, staring at the glowing network.
And that is why they feel like a ghost.
Not because they were invisible, not because they left no traces, but because wherever they appeared, reality itself seemed to shift around them. Cases closed prematurely, evidence rewrote itself, memories became unreliable, records contradicted each other, truth blurred until it became impossible to tell what had really happened. Untouchable, unseen, and everywhere. And for the first time in their careers, Mr. Anonymous and Le Masque were beginning to suspect something far more disturbing than an all-powerful criminal organization. Because no human syndicate, no matter how wealthy, no matter how connected, should have been capable of manipulating reality with such precision. Which meant only one thing. La Clique wasn't just hiding in the shadows. They were operating from somewhere far beyond them. The turning point came on a night when even the Undercity seemed to be holding its breath. Far beneath Jord's glittering skyline, below the maglev arteries, below the industrial exhaust tunnels, below even the forgotten metro ruins, lay a region most citizens didn't know existed. The Undercity was a labyrinth of abandoned infrastructure, sealed research sectors, and unregistered corporate black sites. It was a place where jurisdiction didn't apply and oversight had never existed. That was where the signal had led them. A faint data anomaly pointed to something Le Masque had uncovered while tracing one of La Clique's digital cleanup signatures. It had been buried beneath layers of obsolete municipal records and disguised as an inactive medical storage complex. Officially, the facility had been decommissioned 27 years earlier. In reality, it was still very much alive. They entered through a maintenance shaft, hidden behind a collapsed water treatment conduit. The air inside was cold and sterile, smelling faintly of antiseptic and ionized metal. Security had been designed to keep out governments, not intruders. Biometric locks, quantum encryption grids, autonomous defense drones patrolling in silent loops. But Le Masque bypassed them with surgical precision, her mask glowing softly as streams of code flowed across her vision.
Security protocols aren't corporate standard. They're layered, adaptive.
Mr. Anonymous studied the pattern of sensor sweeps.
Designed to anticipate human behavior.
He paused briefly.
Which means that whoever built this didn't think like a human.
They moved deeper into the complex, past empty laboratories, past storage rooms filled with obsolete equipment, past observation chambers whose reinforced glass bore long spiderweb cracks, as if something inside had once tried to break free. Then they reached the central containment hall and stopped. Rows of cylindrical containment pods stretched across a cavernous chamber, disappearing into shadow at the far end. Hundreds of them. Each stood upright like a silent sentinel, bathed in a pale bluish glow. Inside each pod floated a figure. At first glance, they looked human. Perfectly human, but only at first glance. Their skin shimmered faintly beneath the scanning lights. Not metallic, not synthetic, but subtly iridescent, like oil on water. Veins beneath their skin glowed dimly, tracing intricate branching patterns that didn't follow normal human anatomy. And their eyes, even closed, they emitted a faint luminescence, as though something behind them was awake, watching, waiting. Strange organic circuitry pulsed beneath their flesh, vein-like filaments that branched into geometric patterns, merging biology with something that resembled living technology. Le Masque's breath caught. When she spoke, her voice sounded small in the vast chamber.
These are not cybernetic augmentations. None of the energy signatures match technological implants.
Mr. Anonymous stepped closer to one of the pods.
No, definitely not cybernetic.
He placed a handheld scanner against the glass. Biometric data streamed across his visor. DNA sequencing results, cellular structures, protein synthesis patterns. His hand froze. The records. He accessed the facility's internal database. Layers of encryption unfolded before him, complex, alien in logic, structured in ways no human system architect would design. Le Masque assisted, weaving through the code like a ghost. Finally, the core records unlocked. What they revealed made her go silent. Genetic sequencing logs, cross-species DNA mapping charts, development timelines spanning decades, and a classification label repeated across every file, hybridization program, La Clique directive. Mr. Anonymous broke the shattering silence.
They're bloody hybrids.
The words seemed to echo unnaturally in the chamber. A cold silence filled the room. The masked detective eventually spoke.
Human and something else.
The deeper they dug, the more horrifying the truth became. This wasn't an experimental project. It was an infrastructure. For decades, Clique had been cultivating hybrid operatives, beings designed to appear human while possessing enhanced cognitive abilities, accelerated learning capacity, and subtle physiological differences that allowed them to interface with advanced non-human technologies. Each pod contained not just a body, but a fully documented life path, education assignments, identity placements, psychological conditioning records, deployment roles, government leadership positions, military command appointments, financial empire CEOs, law enforcement oversight directors. Every major sector of society had been systematically infiltrated, not by outsiders, but by individuals born within the system itself, raised to belong, trained to lead, programmed to control. They weren't invaders. They were inheritors. Le Masque stared at the data scrolling endlessly across her display.
They don't need to conquer humanity. They just need to replace its decision makers.
Mr. Anonymous nodded.
And once they reach critical mass, their control becomes self-sustaining.
He closed the records and turned toward the endless rows of pods.
This was never about crime. It's about bloody evolution.
The weight of hopelessness pressed down on them. They destroyed what evidence they could without triggering facility alarms. But both of them knew it wasn't enough. There were too many hybrids already active, too many in positions of power, too many systems compromised. When they returned to their rooftop safe house, the neon rain was falling harder than ever, like the sky itself was trying to wash something away. Le Masque stood at the edge, staring out at the city, at the glowing towers, at the millions of people living their lives below, unaware that their world had already been infiltrated from within. When she eventually spoke, her voice carried none of its usual calm.
Every system is compromised, but if we expose them, they'll erase us before sunrise.
She didn't need to explain how. They had seen what Clique could do. Records rewritten, memories altered, people erased as if they had never existed. Mr. Anonymous remained still behind her. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then at last he reacted.
For the first time, it's clear we may have found a problem we cannot solve alone.
The neon rain continued to fall. And far above the city, unseen, silent, waiting, the stars burned with an ancient, watchful light. The lights across the city flickered once, so briefly that most citizens probably assumed it was just another grid fluctuation. Then they flickered again, and again, until entire districts began going dark in rolling waves, like a black tide sweeping through Jord. The endless hum of infrastructure faltered. Holographic billboards sputtered and collapsed into static. Traffic lanes froze mid-flow as maglev systems lost synchronization. Surveillance drones stalled in the air, their glowing optics dimming to lifeless black before they dropped from the sky like dead insects. For the first time in living memory, the city went silent. Not just quiet, silent. No machinery, no advertising noise, no omnipresent electronic pulse, just the sound of wind and rain. Le Masque turned slowly, her mask's optics struggling to recalibrate as every network signal around them vanished.
This isn't just a blackout. Every independent power node is offline simultaneously.
Mr. Anonymous was already scanning the skyline.
Not just offline, overridden.
Then the sky itself seemed to ripple. At first it looked like heat distortion, like air bending above asphalt. But this distortion moved in perfect concentric waves, spreading outward across the cloud cover. The neon rain froze mid-fall for a fraction of a second, suspended like glittering dust in invisible currents. And then a beam of radiant blue light descended onto the rooftop. It didn't fall from a single point. It unfolded like a column of liquid starlight, cascading downward in layers of luminous energy that shimmered with shifting geometric patterns. Within it, faint shapes moved. Both detectives reacted instantly. Mr. Anonymous drew his pulse pistol in a single fluid motion, raising it toward the center of the beam. Le Masque stepped to his side, deploying a compact electromagnetic disruptor, its coils humming as it charged. Neither spoke, neither hesitated. Then the voice came, not through their ears, not through their implants, but directly into their minds. Serene, resonant, impossible to locate.
Stand down. You are not alone.
They were humanoid, but only in the most basic sense. Tall, easily a head above any human. Their forms were slender, yet powerful, their proportions subtly different in ways the eye struggled to define. Their skin glowed faintly with an inner luminescence, like moonlight beneath translucent crystal. They wore armor unlike anything human technology could produce. It appeared crystalline, but flexible, composed of interlocking facets that shifted constantly, refracting the blue light into thousands of shimmering fragments. It didn't reflect the environment. It seemed to reflect the stars. When they moved, faint trails of light lingered behind them, like afterimages burned into reality itself. Le Masque's breathing became shallow. Her speech faltered slightly, the first time Mr. Anonymous had ever heard it do so.
Non-human. Energy signatures. Completely unknown.
One figure stepped forward. Its presence carried a quiet gravity, not intimidating, but deeply commanding. Its eyes glowed with a soft golden light, and when it spoke, the words flowed directly into their thoughts.
I am Commander Agna. We are from the Celestial Entente.
The name carried weight. Ancient, vast, echoing with a sense of scale beyond anything earthly.
We are a galactic alliance tasked with protecting developing civilizations from covert infiltration.
Le Masque stared, unable to look away. Then she spoke, her voice steadying through sheer willpower.
You knew about Le Clique?
The being inclined its head slightly.
We have monitored them for centuries.
The words hit like a shockwave. For centuries. Mr. Anonymous lowered his weapon, but did not holster it. He crossed his arms, posture rigid. When he spoke, no fear colored his voice, only cold and direct challenge.
Then why haven't you stopped them?
The leader's glowing eyes softened.
Because we cannot.
A pause followed, not as hesitation, but careful emphasis.
Intervention laws govern all advanced civilizations. We are forbidden from direct interference in the internal evolution of developing worlds.
Le Masque frowned.
So you've been watching them infiltrate humanity, doing nothing?
Not nothing. We have monitored, contained external support, and prevented escalation beyond covert influence, but we cannot act openly unless invited by the inhabitants of the affected world.
Mr. Anonymous' voice hardened.
That sounds like a convenient rule.
The being met his gaze without defensiveness.
It is a necessary one. Civilizations must retain sovereignty over their own destiny. External intervention without consent leads to dependency, stagnation, and eventual collapse.
The words carried the weight of long experience, of mistakes made long ago. Then the leader stepped closer. The air itself seemed to hum with quiet energy.
For centuries, the Clique has operated within your world because humanity remained unaware of their existence, Awareness is the threshold of sovereignty.
Its gaze moved between the two detectives.
You are the first humans to uncover the truth completely.
The significance of that statement settled heavily. Not just investigators, not just witnesses, but a turning point, a line crossed. Le Masque's thoughts raced.
So then, if we acknowledge the threat, that counts as an invitation.
The being nodded slowly.
That is correct.
Mr. Anonymous finally holstered his weapon. He reacted quietly.
So you've been waiting.
We have been waiting for humanity to see the shadow within its own house and choose to confront it.
The rain began falling again, slowly at first, then steadily, neon droplets streaking through the beam of light. Far below, the city remained dark, still, listening. The being extended a luminous hand.
You are not alone, but the choice to fight must be yours.
Mr. Anonymous and Le Masque exchanged a brief glance. No words were needed. They had already made that choice long ago. They looked back at the radiant figure. Mr. Anonymous spoke for both of them, for humanity.
Then it's time we show you how humans wage war in the shadows.
For the first time, a faint warmth entered the leader's glowing expression.
And we will stand beside you.
What followed was not a war in the traditional sense. There were no marching armies, no explosions lighting the night sky, no official declarations. Instead, it was fought in silence, across data streams, inside decision rooms, within the hidden architecture of power itself. A covert war unlike anything the world had ever seen, because for the first time, the enemy could no longer hide behind secrecy. And for the first time, those fighting them possessed tools designed not to destroy, but to reveal. The Celestial Entente, whom humans would later come to call simply the Entente, did not provide weapons in the way Mr. Anonymous had expected. They provided something far more dangerous, the truth, or means of uncovering it. Their first gift was the quantum cloaking system. Unlike conventional stealth technology, it did not merely bend light or suppress signals. It shifted the wearer's presence slightly out of phase with observable reality, rendering them undetectable not only to sensors, but to human perception itself. Security guards could look directly at them and see nothing. Cameras recorded empty corridors. Biometric scanners detected no mass. It was not invisibility, it was absence. With it, Mr. Anonymous and Le Masque moved freely through the most secure facilities on the planet, walking unseen through corridors where entire security teams stood watch. The second technology was even more unsettling, the truth signal disruptor. Clique's greatest strength had always been their ability to appear human, genetically, physiologically, even neurologically. But the disruptor emitted a carefully tuned resonance field that interfered with the hybrid bioarchitecture embedded within their cells. Under its influence, the subtle alien structures hidden beneath their skin became visible. Veins glowed, iridescent patterns surfaced, eyes shimmered with unnatural luminescence. To the human eye, it was unmistakable. There could be no denial, no plausible explanation, no way to hide. The third tool was the most powerful of all. Data keys, crystalline devices capable of interfacing with any digital system, regardless of encryption level. They didn't hack networks. They translated them. The keys could interpret data structures at the quantum level, allowing instant access to any database on the planet. Government archives, military intelligence, corporate vaults, private neural storage systems. Nothing could be locked away anymore. They did not begin with violence. They began with exposure. The first operation targeted a senior economic minister who had quietly steered trillions in public funds into shell corporations tied to Clique. During a live global financial summit, As the minister delivers speech about transparency and reform, Le Masque activated a truth signal pulse. For a fraction of a second, the audience thought the lights had flickered. Then gasps erupted across the room. The minister's skin shimmered visibly beneath the broadcast lighting. His eyes glowed. The alien biofilaments beneath his flesh pulsed like luminous veins. The broadcast cameras captured everything in high resolution. Within minutes, the footage spread across global networks. The minister attempted to deny it, but denial no longer mattered. The world had seen what it needed to see. From that moment forward, operations escalated rapidly. Mr. Anonymous infiltrated secure government archives and released decades of sealed intelligence, showing how key political appointments had been manipulated by Clique operatives. Le Masque breached financial networks, exposing hidden funding pipelines that revealed entire corporate empires being controlled by hybrid leadership. For the first time in history, information spread faster than it could be suppressed, because the Entente data keys bypassed every censorship system simultaneously. No firewall could block it. No authority could erase it. Truth propagated across the world like a digital wildfire. Clique tried to respond. They deployed countermeasures, shut down networks, attempted mass data wipes, activated sleeper operatives to discredit the revelations, but nothing worked. Because the war was no longer about controlling information. It was about overwhelming it. Every attempt at suppression triggered automated evidence releases across thousands of independent networks. Every exposed hybrid triggered a cascade of linked data, revealing dozens more. The more they tried to hide, the faster they were uncovered. Never before, in their centuries-long infiltration, had Clique lost control of the narrative. And once that happened, their power began to unravel. Public outrage ignited, like a storm front sweeping across the globe. Protests erupted in every major city. Citizens demanded investigations into leaders they had trusted for decades. Military units refused orders from exposed commanders. Intelligence agencies fractured internally, divided between human personnel and suspected hybrids. Governments collapsed overnight as entire administrations were revealed to be infiltrated. Emergency councils formed. Global alliances shifted. Trust, once broken, could not be restored quickly, and fear spread faster than anything else. Because humanity realized something terrifying. They had not been invaded. They had been quietly replaced. Hybrid leaders were arrested wherever they could be identified. Many attempted to flee. Some vanished entirely, disappearing into hidden networks and underground installations. Others fought back using advanced technologies never before seen by human forces. But without secrecy, they had lost their greatest weapon. Their coordinated structure fractured. Cells became isolated. Communications broke down. Funding networks collapsed. Within months, Clique ceased to exist as a unified syndicate. What remained were scattered remnants, isolated operatives hiding in the shadows, cut off from the vast infrastructure that had once protected them. Emergency broadcasts filled the airwaves. The world was not at peace. It was in shock, but was awake at last. It was a pivotal moment in history. A hidden global cabal had been exposed completely. Not through violence, not through conquest, but through something far more powerful: truth. And though Clique had crumbled, everyone knew one thing with absolute certainty. In a universe filled with shadows, there would always be those who tried to hide within them again. From their safe house, Mr. Anonymous and Le Masque watched the city slowly return to life. Lights flickered back on. Drones resumed patrol, now under strict human oversight. The neon rain still fell over Jord. But something had changed. People looked up more, spoke more freely, questioned authority. On the same old rooftop, the two detectives stood once again. Le Masque folded her arms.
Do you think it's over?
Mr. Anonymous gazed into the murky sky above.
I doubt it. Darkness never truly disappears. It just learns to hide better.
Le Masque smiled beneath her disguise.
Then I suppose we'll keep on looking.
Far above them, invisible to human eyes, a silent fleet of Entente vessels watched over the planet. And in the glowing reflection of the rain-soaked skyline, two masked figures stood ready, guardians of truth in a world that still lived in shadows. If you enjoyed this tale, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. It would mean the world to us.